Reiki is the cure for burnout because it was born of burnout. The number one reason people are drawn to Reiki is burnout. When I teach my classes, I always ask my students why they want to learn Reiki. It's always the same answers. They are worn out at work, sick of their lives, exhausted by family responsibilities, frazzled in their relationships, feeling depleted. They are sick and tired of it all. Oftentimes, they're experiencing sickness, depression, financial problems, debts, inertia, or even more serious health issues or diseases. Burnout is a negative state of being caused by long-term chronic stress. It causes psychological and physical unease. Mental health symptoms of burnout include fatigue, distraction, exhaustion, negative feelings or perceptions about the people you work with or live with, depersonalization, detachment, and a decrease in feelings of success or meaning in life. Physical symptoms of burnout include heightened anxiety, poor sleep, stomach aches, digestive disorders, body aches, lowered immunity, and even heart problems. When you're experiencing burnout, it can also affect your bank account, especially if you are self-employed. It has a negative impact on your financial situation because exhaustion and physical ailments can lead to taking days off or needing expensive medical treatments and medications. Burnout causes brain fog, so you are not accomplishing your goals or doing your best work. This may lead to bad money choices, not paying attention to your accounting, or going into debt. I found Reiki myself when I was burned out twice. I was trained in the traditional Usui Shiki Ryoho system that was created by Mikao Usui in Japan 100 years ago. I will share his story that brought him from burnout to becoming the original Reiki master teacher. The origin story of Reiki is an oral history passed on from Reiki master teacher to students since the turn of the century when it all began. This is the story as well as I remember hearing it from my original Reiki master teacher. It has stayed with me always as I've practiced Reiki. It's so important to know the roots of your healing system. Like the roots of a tree, it nourishes and grounds your Reiki. Dr. Mikao Usui was born on August 15, 1865, in a village called Tanai, now known as Miyamo-cho in Japan. He became a physician at the turn of the century, minister and president of a small Christian university in Kyoto, Japan. He was a seeker, studying healing works of Jesus, Buddha, and Sanskrit texts. As a doctor, during that turn-of-the-century time, he saw death in his practice on a daily basis. He was experiencing deep grief and burnout from being a doctor with so many patients dying. His greatest desire was to heal people, but he had not been able to fulfill this desire in his medical practice. Imagine what that must have been like to be a doctor at a time when there were no antibiotics. They had not even developed common medical practices we have today, like washing your hands before surgery. There was a lot to be learned about medicine in the 1920s. Mikao had been studying spiritual scriptures of both Jesus and Buddha at a Zen monastery, but his deep faith did not give him the power to heal his patients. He was losing hope. He could not go on like this It was draining his spirit to witness patient suffering. He went to his friend, the abbot, for advice about whether he should quit his physician duties. He told them, "If I cannot find better ways to heal my patients and keep them from dying, then I feel I must resign as a doctor." The abbot said, "We are too busy with healing their spirits here to worry about healing their bodies." The abbot advised Mikao to go to a holy mountain to meditate, seek answers, and see if he could discover a way to heal his patients before he quits his position completely. Dr. Usui climbed Mount Kurama, one of the most sacred mountains in Japan. On his first day at the top of the mountain, he placed 21 stones out in front of him. Each day that passed, he would throw one stone away from the stack. This was his way to keep track of the days passing while he was fasting. On his 21st day of meditating, he stood up on the mountaintop. He was ready to leave. In that moment, a golden beam of light from a heavenly cloud came shooting right towards him. Although he was afraid, he did not move. He stood tall, facing it. This golden light was so bright and intense, it struck him in his forehead, knocking him to the ground. Some say this light instantly opened his third eye chakra so that he could envision Reiki. Then he looked up into the sky and saw the very symbols he had been researching in his studies of both the ancient texts of Jesus and the Buddhist sutras. In rapid succession, he saw these healing symbols floating in the sky like giant golden bubbles. He had trouble grasping these symbols before, but now they were burned into his memory. He knew them for certain as a child masters his first words. He received an energetic download of everything he would ever need to know to be able to heal others and to teach Reiki. He knew these Reiki symbols were both Buddha and Jesus symbols that had been used to heal others and themselves, and now he understood these powerful symbols. He would be able to use them to heal his patients too. When this experience was over, Dr. Usui no longer felt exhausted, stiff, tired, or hungry as he had moments before on this last day of his 21 days spent in a fasting meditation. On his way hiking down the mountain, he stubbed his big toe, tearing back the toenail, and blood rushed out. He held his toe as his hand became warm with this golden Reiki energy. Within a minute, all bleeding stopped. His toe was well on the way to healing. It looked like it had been days since he tore it, not just minutes. He was astonished to learn firsthand how quickly Reiki could heal wounds. He was able to continue hiking down the mountain without pain. When he reached his first little town, he stopped at an outdoor vendor's stall to order breakfast. The old man at the stall could tell he was coming from a mountain meditation by the looks of Dr. Usui. He said it would be a while to prepare his food so it didn't upset his long, empty stomach. While waiting, Dr. Usui saw the daughter of this man had a red face that was swollen. She was crying in pain. Dr. Usui asked her what was wrong. She said she had a painful toothache for 3 days now. Dentistry at the turn of the century was certainly not what it is today either. Dr. Usui asked her if he could place his hands on her face. In just a few minutes, the redness and swelling was gone. She said the pain was receding now. Returning to the monastery that evening, Dr. Usui was told the abbot was in bed suffering a painful attack of back pain and arthritis. Dr. Usui went to see his dear friend. With his newfound Reiki healing hands, Dr. Usui was able to relieve his pain. He returned to his medical practice with a renewed sense of inspiration to heal his clients. To his amazement, he was now able to heal the sick and dying by placing his hands on their bodies and visualizing the symbols. He worked in a beggar's camp in Japan, healing the sick and teaching them how to heal themselves by giving them a Reiki attunement. He went on to teach other doctors, nurses, and clinics this powerful system, so this lineage went on until today. There is an interesting correlation to this story that my Reiki students always tell me. Right after they get their Reiki attunement, they either hurt themselves and have to use their Reiki to heal themselves, or their loved ones may suddenly experience sickness or pain. There's always an opportunity that calls them to put their healing hands into practice almost immediately after coming home from class. It seems to be written in the Reiki story that once you receive a Reiki attunement, people will seek out your healing Reiki. When I teach Reiki classes, I am always amazed that the number one reason people state they are in class is that they are burned out, sick of their work, sick of their lives, and just plain sick. Perhaps Reiki calls out to those who are feeling burned out because Mikao Usui discovered it when he was feeling burned out. Reiki is the best cure for burnout because it was born of burnout.